Okay, so I just want to demonstrate some of the techniques with using the stretch cords, because what I'm seeing in some of the sessions as I watch people using them is some of the movement patterns aren't quite correct, that aren't going to help them quite as well when they try and apply this back into their freestyle. So I'm just going to grab my bands. Alright, so firstly, when you've got yourself set up, you want to look at getting your posture quite straight. And so I'm sort of looking to try and create a parallel line between my back and the bands, so that I'm forcing or pushing in a strong position towards the back of what would be the back of the stroke. Okay, so as I'm making that movement pattern, my posture is staying quite straight. I bend my legs a little bit, okay, so I've got a little bit of bend there, so I'm not standing up here, up too straight, where I see some people, and this is where they're trying to do their band work up in this position. You've got to drop yourself down, lean yourself forward, get your head just up a little bit. Again, I feel like that's a better way of doing this, because you're again going to keep a stronger posture. So I see some people with their head position down here, and even though I can't see myself right now, I'm guessing that my back is very arched, and that doesn't really help your ability to hold a strong core posture when your head is down. And this is exactly the same when you're swimming. So you've got to keep your core strong and stable. All right, so then at the front end of the stroke, depending on the type of set that you're doing, is that if it's a longer set that you're doing with your bands, then you've got to be thinking about, can you maintain that position for as long as possible? So if you're standing too far back, you're going to get really tired through the back end of the stroke because the resistance is high. But then if you're too far forward and there's too much flex, there's nothing, I'm getting no resistance at the front here, but getting resistance just through the back of it, but it's kind of weak. I don't feel a lot of stretch in the cords. So you want to find that place that's just about right. So initially, as I set up my catch, I've got a little bit of resistance, but then it increases as I push through towards the back. Okay. If I was just doing a catch only type of movement, so where you'll see in some of the sets where I'm here just practicing a catch, you want that resistance to be slightly greater, so you stand back a little bit more. Whereas if I'm up here and doing it, you can see my band is just floppy. There's no resistance in it, so you stand back a little bit to create that resistance. But if I was going to do a full arm movement, standing back here, I'm going to be really challenged. Okay. Some of the other movements that I see people doing at the front part of the stroke is that they're here, and the first movement they're doing is pushing from the arm down. And it's kind of like, if we slow this down, going down and scooping up. And this is quite similar to what they would often do in their swimming stroke. This is really tough in the shoulder, okay? So you're pushing down here and then trying to pull up. Not quite right. I think of it as just a slight movement here. So I've bent my elbow, pointed to the side, and then I'm pushing through to the back, and I've got myself in what I call a long sort of tricep extension at the very back end of the stroke. You'll see that my palm is facing the back the whole time. This is again an important part of swimming, to create that pressure that's going to help you drive forwards. Push. Okay. As you get tired, you might find that you start to finish a little bit shorter. Okay, and I know that through when I'm doing this myself, I start to get challenged more to get into this type of position here, and I'm really struggling through the back end. But I'm looking for that really strong extension at the back. The other thing I'm seeing with some of the movements is quite shallow. Okay, and again the movement, it's not really particularly strong. We're too shallow in the arm stroke, and not really it's not really the right position to be that you'd want to take when you're in the water. So you've got to get yourself down, got to get yourself that depth of position to be able to push through to the back. Don't be too shallow, okay? So don't be up here. You can see my elbows are way above my back at the back end, whereas I want them down under the front of your hips. Okay, yeah, that's kind of the main parts of this. But yeah, it's all about your positioning, where you're standing in relation to your resistance to create that pressure, so you can create the strong movements. As you start to try and increase your speed, still try and move that hand and forearm just initially before you push back, okay, which is your sit up or your catch when you're practicing this. All right, finishing here, not over here, not with a bent arm way up here. That's not correct. I'm going to just move the camera position. And so when you're looking from this position here, we're pushing through to the back, okay? So, and you know, you've got a reasonable level of depth through the stroke, so you're not seeing that I'm up here being too high. Down in this position here, pushing through. There's that strong sort of diamond shape at the front end of the stroke, angle of around about 100 to 110, 120 degrees. Push, okay? Push. Break, push. Push with the hand and forearms. Don't yank it from the shoulder down here. Okay, we want to set up, push with the hand and forearms. Strong shoulder position to help you hold that position. Okay, hold the arm in its right place. It's not a yank from the shoulder. Okay, so we're not looking at this movement. This puts a lot of strain on the shoulder. Set up, push. Okay, if you've got any questions after you have a listen to this, then please let me know. Hopefully you find it helpful. Cheers.